This team, they got some scars and wounds, but those things make you better. And they're going to play their butts off, man. I mean, there ain't no doubt about it. We got a great year ahead of us. It's not about the scoreboard today. It's about how you play.
It's literally about the scoreboard. Fucking Rube. Good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Welcome to Your Season Is Over. Week 1 edition. This is the only college football recap show that actually matters. Every Sunday during the season, we come on here, we talk about the day's games from the day before. And, we point and laugh. And what an amazing selection of point and laugh we have for today. Unbelievable day of college football yesterday. Before I get ready to take a giant shit on a lot of your teams, who played like complete toilet water yesterday. Let me take a second here to thank everybody for an amazing start to the college football season. I've live streamed a lot going back from week 0, Thursday night, the Colorado game, pretty much all day yesterday. I'm going to be live again tonight for LSU Southern Cal and tomorrow for Boston College, Florida State. But, man, we've had a great time. I've had a great time. I hope y'all have too. I've had a great time in these live streams, hanging out with y'all and watching these college football games here at the start of the 2024 season. And I am so excited to do it, to hang out with y'all every Saturday from now through the end of the season. So big shout out to all of y'all who came and hung out on the streams. Either last weekend or this weekend, even if it was just for 5 minutes. Some of you stayed the whole time, whatever the case. Big shout out to y'all. I had a great time watching the games with y'all this past week. Let me ask you something, though. Is Dabo Swinney and Billy Napier related? I think they have to be. I really think they have to be. I know these backwood cousin fucking hick types. Inbreeding is common there. Somewhere in their family history, it crosses over where it's not supposed to. These two dumbasses are too much alike with the, aw shucks routine and all that kind of thing. Billy Napier, I can't decide whether Billy Napier is Sling Blade, the Carl from Sling Blade, or Andy Griffith. Maybe they ought to rename Florida State. What is Florida Stadium named? Ben Hill Griffin Stadium? Maybe they ought to rename it Sunbelt Billy Griffith Stadium, because this fucking Andy Griffith looking motherfucker. In fact, have you seen Florida Stadium? Hey, Alexa, show me Florida Stadium. Oh, boy. That's what they might as well do after yesterday. Holy shit, Florida got humiliated. It's not just that they lost, right? Lots of people expected that. To get run out of your own building like that, that was a give-up type game. That's a situation where the players aren't playing for the coach. I don't know what was going on. We're going to talk about that. Of course, Clemson got blown out by Georgia. West Virginia goes down to Penn State. What else is over here? Houston? Oh, my God. I know I'm grasping for straws with the Houston thing, but if you're a Power 4 program and you lose to a low-level school, you're likely to end up on this wall on Sunday morning, like Houston is now. Virginia Tech lost to Vandy. Vandy, one of the worst teams on the planet, not named Florida. And Virginia Tech with all this preseason hype, hell, I even bought in. Hey. I know Florida State didn't play yesterday, but I just can't let it go. Did you know that Vandy has more ACC wins than Florida State? Wow. Jesus. Is Florida State still in last place in the ACC? I think they are at 0-1. Virginia Tech, that's a non-conference loss. They lost to the SEC. Yeah. So shout out Vandy, more ACC wins than Florida State. Who else is over here? Texas A&M. We're going to talk about them too. We'll talk about them all. So, welcome to the Your Season is Over video. Hey, got a few new things for you this year on the Your Season is Over video. Let me give you a brief rundown here at the beginning. Also, yet another disclaimer because it didn't work last week. When I talk about teams on the Your Season is Over list on Sunday, it does not mean the season is over. Okay? Most of these teams have 11 games left to play at least. A lot of these teams, some of them that lost could potentially still win their conference or make the playoffs or whatever. So no, of course the season is not over. That's not what it means. Your season is over. It's just an analogy. It's just a phrase we use for teams that lost. That's it, okay? But here's sort of a rundown of what we're going to do. Maybe we'll add some things as the season goes along. Maybe we'll take some things off. But here's what's coming up in today's video. Of course, the Your Season is Over list. We will highlight these 6 losers. I'll tell you how pitiful, pathetic, piss poor, and sad they are. I'm going to tell you some teams that won yesterday, but they looked bad doing it. This is something we've been doing for a while on here. And then the opposite. I'll tell you some teams that won, but they looked good. I'm going to give you who I think the best teams were over the weekend, just from watching a bunch of games. I watch about 3 games at a time, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 or 6. So I'm going to tell you the best teams that I saw play yesterday. Okay? I'm going to tell you who I think had the best wins yesterday. I'm going to give you a ridiculously early Heisman list. This is based on how players played over the weekend, okay? I'm going to give you, this is new for this year, the Josh Pate special. I'm going to tell you, Josh Pate, of course, goes live every Sunday night. I'm going to tell you what Josh Pate is going to tell you before Josh Pate tells it to you. The Josh Pate special coming up today on the Your Season Is Over video. And of course, the updated We're Back list. The top 4 We're Back teams in the country ranked in order from closest to actually being back to furthest away from actually being back. The qualifications for the We're Back list: you have to have not won anything in at least 10 years. By anything, I mean a conference title, a playoff game, a natty, something like that. And you have to have a prominent online fan base. You have to have a big, your fan base has to have a prominent presence online. So that's the qualification. So we'll get to all that. But, man, fuck it. Let's just start right away. You want to start with what should we start with? Let's start with, let's just get this out of the way. Virginia Tech. Because really, this is a lot of point and laugh at me on this one. Let's just leave them up here. I used to take them off the table as I did the list, and I'm just going to leave them up there for now. But we're going to talk about Virginia Tech first, because this is some of this is point and laugh at me. In fact, and of course, don't ask dumb questions. Yes, I've got copious notes. In fact, I've got multiple, 3 pages of them. What? I've got 3 pages of copious notes here. Holy shit. All right, here we go. Let's start with, I got so much notes I can't find the Virginia Tech. Here we go, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech lost to Vandy 34-27 in overtime. This was a strange game in a couple of different ways. Number one, Vandy got out to a huge lead. I believe they were up 27-10 at one point. So Virginia Tech, to their credit, I guess, didn't give up. I mean, how can you give up against Vandy? But they came all the way back, tied the game up, right? And at 27 apiece. And then Vandy gets the ball back, goes down the field, has a chance to kick a game-winning field goal, and they miss it. And at that point, I'm thinking, oh, my God, Vandy's really going to blow it. Because when you're an underdog like that, and Vandy was a significant underdog, a 2-touchdown underdog at home to Virginia Tech, when you're a big underdog like that and you have a chance to win the game at the end and you let it slip away, it feels like that was your shot, right? And that you're then just going to go on to lose the game. That's what it feels like. You see it happen all the time. Well, of course, that wasn't the case. Vandy goes out and wins it in overtime, 34-27. Also weird, and a lot of games fell into this category here, the weather delay deal. There was a lot of weather delays yesterday. Lots of weather delays yesterday. The Kentucky game had multiple weather delays. I don't even think they ever finished the Kentucky game. I think they called it after the third quarter, after an hour and a half weather delay to start the thing. West Virginia, Penn State with a big weather delay. Lots of teams suffered through this weather delay thing. And I don't know how I feel about that. I do think that, now, first of all, this is not me giving teams permission to blame the weather for a loss, because it's not the weather specifically. Now, if the weather delay occurs before the game, I think there's very little impact on the game. If you are playing the game and there's a weather delay, I could see where that could disjoint some teams. Maybe you're in some sort of rhythm offensively. Momentum is huge in college football, right? Maybe you're in the midst of a big comeback or whatever, and then there's a weather delay of an hour and you got to come back out. Well, whatever momentum you have is clearly gone. So when it comes to weather delays, in terms of how it may affect the game or the teams involved in the game, if I'm playing, I'd rather the weather delay be before the game. Just delay the start. But once we start the game, I'd rather, I want to keep playing if I can. But it was all kinds of weather delays yesterday. But look, Virginia Tech was not a great team last year, but they ended the season hot. They made a quarterback change during the season. They ended the season hot. And they had 21 starters returning. Something like 90% of their production was back. Then you looked at their schedule. You said, well, in the non-con, they ain't got, nothing but Vandy. That's an easy win. Then you look at their ACC schedule. They dodge a lot of the big boys. They do have to play on the road at Miami, but they dodge a couple of the other favorites in the ACC. And you're like, favorable schedule, lots of players back, quarterback that looked really good second half of the year. Now he's had a whole offseason to practice as the starter. People were saying they might have the best passing game in the ACC. I fell for it. I had Virginia Tech ranked 24 in my preseason rankings from a week ago. It's unacceptable to lose to Vandy. I get, SEC homer and all this kind of stuff. Vanderbilt is horrific in football. They're absolutely terrible. They've had some good seasons. in some other sports. And they had a season here or there in football back when James Franklin was the coach. They won 9 games 2 years in a row, but they're just a terrible football program. So there's really no excuse. Look, Virginia Tech, over the last 2 or 3 years when Virginia Tech was busy winning like 3 games a year, those Virginia Tech teams shouldn't have lost to Vandy. Never mind this year's Virginia Tech team. They had a lot of hype in the offseason. That hype is completely gone now with a loss to a terrible Vanderbilt team. It feels kind of wrong to dump on Virginia Tech because, they're not, it's not like they have a huge fan base online. It's not like they're obnoxious. It's not like anybody really even roots against Virginia Tech. In fact, for me, it's been kind of the opposite. When I look at the ACC over the last 20 years and you say, what's missing? Miami being relevant, Virginia Tech being relevant, and a team from North Carolina being relevant is what's missing. And it looked like maybe we were going to get one of those back, possibly 2. We'll talk about Miami in a minute with Virginia Tech. But after yesterday, I'm completely off the train. I mean, I can no longer believe in a team that plays that badly against Vandy. And I know it was week 1, but there's no excuse. It's Vandy. That was a bad loss. Virginia Tech, your season is over. I don't know what your goals were, but whatever they were, unfortunately, you're not reaching them. I mean, I hate to tell you that. And then Houston, and again, I'm not going to talk much about Houston because it's not any fun. But how is it possible? Look, I understand going from the group of 5 to the Power 5. You may undergo a little bit of a transition, and you may not perform well in your new Power now 4 conference for a year or 2 while you kind of maybe beef up your roster or whatever the case. Houston appears to me to have been a much better team 2, 3, 4, and 5 years ago than they were last year and this year. It has nothing to do with playing a Power 4 conference schedule. I'm talking about the team, the players on it, the roster, the way they're coached. They're terrible. How terrible are they? Well, they're so terrible they lost to UNLV. I forgot about UNLV. UNLV is so irrelevant, I don't even have a UNLV helmet. And I've got a fucking Wyoming helmet, a fucking Temple helmet. I've got a fucking North Texas helmet. I mean, crap, I got Hawaii. I don't even have UNLV. And people ask me all the time, Lou, what are a couple of helmets you don't have that you need? You want to know what team I never think to say? UNLV. That's a bad loss. That's a bad loss. Houston, your season is over. All right, let's get into something that people might actually care about. We're going to talk now about the Florida Gators, and I'm going to be honest with you. This is the closest I've ever been to not being able to make fun of the Florida Gators after a loss. I'm a Georgia fan. I don't hide that. So it's a law. I have to root against Florida and all that, but it goes beyond that. I watched Florida completely dominate not just my team, but the majority of college football during a lot of the 90s and late 2000s. And, it seemed like no matter what Georgia did, they couldn't get over that Florida hump. So I've enjoyed Florida being bad and circling the drain for the last 2 or 3 seasons. It's been a lot of fun, really more than that, really. I mean, really since about 2010, 2011, they've been bad, but I never, in a million years, I would have never thought that in my lifetime, I would watch Florida go from where they were at under Steve Spurrier and then Urban Meyer to where they're at now. It can't be explained how bad they are. They are horrifically bad. And it's obviously from the top down, coaching, Billy Napier, the hires that he's made, the staff he's put around him, the fact that he still calls his own plays, doesn't he? How many times does Uncle Lou have to get on here and tell people about these coaches that want to call their own plays? It's not a good idea, especially for Sunbelt Billy. But this is just 41-17. Again, nobody is surprised or shocked that Florida lost this game. Truth be told, the Florida fans aren't even surprised or shocked that Florida lost this game. You see them on the internet with their chest out and they're going 100-0 and all that. But if deep down, they knew. Deep down, they knew. So it's not even that they lost. This looked like, this looked like, an NFL team playing a middle school team. This was so bad. I wrote some of this stuff down. 41-17. Graham Mertz. This guy's been in college for 4 or 5 years. He was kind of a bright spot last year for Florida. I mean, the expectations for him were so low that anything other than falling on his face would have been considered overachieving, I guess. But 11 of 20? 11 of 20? And yes, I know he was hurt. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I don't celebrate any injuries. I hate all injuries. So that's terrible, and I hope he'll be okay. But I'm talking pre-injury here. 11 for 20. And this guy was running for his life. He's tough. This is a tough quarterback here because Florida's offensive line is bad. They're like Colorado level bad, and that's bad. And he took a beating, and he finally took one too many hits, and that was it. They had to come out there and peel him up off the ground. But 11 of 20, 91 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Yes, Lagway came in, big fucking deal. 3 for 6. 30 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. And this is where Florida fans are going to force people like me who are this close to feeling sorry for them to flip the switch back to fuck them. I hope they go 0-1,000,000 and lose every game by 100. They're already on to the Lagway thing. And, if Lagway would have played the whole game, the outcome would have been different. And, now we can beat this team and that team with Lagway. And Lagway should have been the guy the whole time. And Lagway this and Lagway that. Lagway is not going to do a goddamn thing for you this year. Nothing. The ghost of Tim Tebow could come back and you wouldn't be any good. I don't know. I tried telling Florida fans this when they signed this kid, because they just, the delusion that they fall into when talking about him is just crazy. Florida is not a quarterback away from anything. They're terrible on all levels on both sides of the ball. Again, it's talent, it's coaching, it's everything. Okay, so Lagway plays. What is he going to do? Who's he going to throw it to? Who's going to block for him? Who's he going to hand the ball off to? And please don't tell me Montrell Johnson. You box score people out there, where Montrell Johnson, you're going to say, well, you had 11 carries for 106 yards. That's good, woo. 1 carry was 70 yards. Montrell Johnson had 1 carry for 71 yards. It was a 71-yard touchdown. Okay? That means he had 10 carries for 30 yards. 10 carries, 30 yards, and then he had 1 pop play, a 70-yard rush. So, no, he didn't play well. He had no holes to run through. You guys are so far gone from mattering right now in the world of college football. It's hard to see you. I told y'all last year, and you didn't believe me, and I don't know if you're starting to believe. Well, first of all, there's not anybody alive anymore that argues with me about the Billy Napier thing. That ended yesterday about 5:30. The Florida fans that were still hanging on to Billy Napier just is fine. He's this, he's that. You'll see this year. No, there is none of that. You can't find a soul. You can't find a single Florida fan that's still holding on to hope that Billy Napier is going to succeed at Florida. So you finally came around and agreed with me on that, which was a long time coming. But here's Florida's drive chart from yesterday. These are the number of plays. 4 plays, 5 plays, 6 plays, 5 plays, 3 plays, 4 plays, 3 plays. 9 plays. Oh, yay. 3 plays. You did have 1 11 play drive. It's just, y'all are so bad, it can't be explained. And so I find myself in a spot where I'm like, back to what I tried to tell y'all last year. Florida is Tennessee in the middle 20 teens. That's what you are, okay? And you have got to accept that. Because whatever coach y'all bring in next year after Billy Napier, y'all cannot put the pressure on him to win a win right away. You cannot do that because he's not going to win right away. You are Tennessee in the mid-20 teens. What does that mean? Best case scenario, you're 4 or 5 years away from mattering. Okay? Tennessee had a decent year in 2016. Remember that? I think they beat Georgia. I think they won 9 games, whatever. It was a decent season compared to what they've been having. The following year, right back into the goddamn toilet, and they stayed in there and swam around for a while until they finally hired Heupel, okay? You're That's where you're at. You're somewhere between 2015 and 2017. Probably 2015. Oh, no, it might be 2017. Wasn't 2017 the year Tennessee went 0-8 in the SEC? I believe it was. And you might be staring at that. You might be looking at a 2-win season. I had you winning 5 games. The team and that was with a loss to Miami. So I haven't changed my mind because you lost to Miami. I had already factored in a loss to Miami when I thought you'd win 5 games. I did not think you were going to get blown out. I thought you might lose by a couple of scores. Maybe it's a 7 or a 10-point game, and maybe Miami gets a late touchdown to make it 17 or something. This was a beatdown of biblical fucking proportions, my guy. Y'all are. I'm not joking. Central Florida's going to beat you. I'm telling you that right now. I've been warning people about Central Florida all season. Goose Malzone's cooking something up there. They're going to beat the soul out of you. You've got no chance to win that game. And Florida fans last week, did you see how Florida State looked in Ireland? We might have a chance to get. You don't have a chance in fucking hell against Florida State. Not a 1% chance. Just forget those last 5 games of the year, whatever they are. LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, Florida, that whole run there. Forget it. None of those games will be single digits. You're going to lose to Central Florida. I had you beating Texas A&M in a couple of weeks. So we'll talk about them in a minute. But my God, y'all might go 2-10. Y'all might go 2-10. Y'all are bad, and you're 4 or 5 years away. In other words, DJ Lagway's never winning anything for you. Never. Never, ever, ever, never. He'll be out of eligibility by the time Florida is any good again. That's a guarantee you have from me. That's a guarantee. You are where Tennessee was in the middle 20 teens. You're not a year away. You're not one player away. You're not one recruiting class or one transfer portal cycle away. You're not. You're 4 or 5 years away, minimum. And that's if you make the right hire. Which history shows me you won't. You've made the right hire twice in program history. I bet I know y'all wish y'all had Dan Mullen still. You won't admit it, but I know you do. Didn't he make 3 straight New Year's Six bowls, win the East? Oh my God. Had one bad season where how many games did he win? 6, 7, 8, whatever. Fucking fired him. Now look at you. You're a joke, Florida. You're an absolute fucking joke. You ever look in a toilet bowl? You ever look at a toilet bowl and it's so bad? Maybe it's in a gas station somewhere. But you ever look at a toilet bowl and it's so bad that you honestly can't tell if the water is brown or the toilet is brown? That's Florida. That's fun. I know it's bad. I know that for sure. I don't know if it's coaching and culture and environment and everything else, or if it's just coaching, or if it's just, I don't know. But I know it's bad. You're either a brown toilet or you're brown toilet water. I just can't tell which one. Well, Florida, your season is over, but honestly, you knew that when the schedule came out. Let's see. We did Florida. We did Virginia Tech. We did Houston. How about West Virginia? Take me home, Country Rose. Well, they didn't have to take you home. You was already in Morgantown when Penn State showed up and beat the absolute fuck out of you, didn't they? I still think West Virginia can have a decent year. Here, look. It's very dangerous to draw conclusions from week 1, and I'm going to talk a lot about that. I have an entire segment of today's show. Look, listen. If you're a fan watching and you're like, well, he's not going to talk about my team because we played a nobody, and I'm going to talk about you. If you're Alabama or Oklahoma or Ole Miss or Tennessee or Auburn or whoever, whatever, this long list of teams, yes, I've got something to say about all that. I've got something to say about all that. But it's very dangerous to draw conclusions from week 1, right? I think it's safer to draw conclusions from week 1 in a Power 5 versus Power 5 matchup, like Penn State versus West Virginia. And I think it's you're the safest to draw conclusions from week 1 matchups when it's 2 teams playing that you know are some level of good, like Georgia Clemson, for example. Clemson's offense is bad, but their defense is really, really good. So Penn State versus West Virginia. Now, Penn State lost, so your season is over, Penn State. You know the deal with that. 34-12, they beat you. Garrett Green played bad, and he had to have a great game for West Virginia to have any chance. Now, I mentioned before, this was one of those games where the weather was bad and they had a weird delay. But look, as far as it raining and Garrett Green under the rain, I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell Ohio State, man, and everybody else that brings up this dumb shit. It doesn't just rain on one team or the other. Okay? The field is not only muddy when West Virginia's on offense and suddenly dries out when Penn State gets the ball. That's not how it works. It's the funny thing about weather. They're not a fan of either team, weather. Weather affects both teams the same. Now, maybe you're a team that does nothing but throw the ball and you can't do that in a monsoon. Well, that's your own fucking fault for being one-sided. And I'm not saying that's West Virginia, but I'm just saying weather doesn't root for one team or the other, okay? The weather happens, whatever it is. 110 degrees with 1,000,000% humidity, both teams have to play in that. 20 degrees and snowing, both teams have to play in that. Raining, lightning, whatever, both teams are playing in the same fucking weather. So I don't want to hear that. Garrett Green did not play good after I hyped his ass up for the last 2 weeks. I was calling Garrett Green the best quarterback in college football that nobody talks about. He goes out and goes 15 for 28, 161 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Is that a terrible game? No. A completion percentage way too low, hovering around 50%, but 161 yards, didn't turn the ball over. But that's not the point is he didn't need a good game to beat Penn State. He needed a great game, and he didn't have it. Penn State's defense looks legit again. Drew Aller in that offense, they might have figured something out. Drew Aller looked good. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But Drew Aller looked pretty good. West Virginia only had 85 rush yards. They fumbled 4 times. West Virginia did. They only lost 2 of them. So a little bit of luck there. But they pulled the ball on the ground 4 times. The ball was wet, Woo. It was wet for Penn State too. Dumb ass. You gave up 450 yards. So I don't really, as far as the conclusions from this game, do we think West Virginia now is worse than we thought they were because they lost to Penn State? Do we think they're better? I think West Virginia is about who I thought they were. Regardless of the outcome of this game not going their way. West Virginia overachieved last year big time with a head coach that was this close to getting fired prior to that, Neil Doo-Doo Brown, our old buddy Doo-Doo Brown over there. I still don't think he's a very good coach, and I think West Virginia will and is going to be better off the minute they move on from him. However, when you look at West Virginia's schedule and you look at who they play and you look at the Big 12 overall, it's very possible yesterday's game doesn't impact West Virginia's season one bit, and they still go on to win 8 games. What does that make you happy? What does that mean for Neil Brown? It's going to be hard for West Virginia to fire a coach that wins 8 games. It just is. I came away from this game more being impressed with Penn State than I did disappointed in West Virginia. Now, this is the point and laugh, so fuck West Virginia. Y'all are terrible, you bunch of couch burning dummies, fucking black-lunged motherfuckers. But anyway, Penn State looks good. We need to reserve judgment, I guess, on Penn State until they play an elite team because that's just been their problem year after year after year after. You got to remember, Penn State hasn't had a problem beating the West Virginias of the world. That hasn't been their problem. That's not what's kept them out of the playoffs or the Big Ten title game. It's playing the top teams within their own conference, which they still have to do. Now, they don't play Michigan. But they do host Ohio State. They got to travel to Southern Cal. I think they play Iowa. So they'll get a chance to play some tougher teams in conference, and we'll see what they can do. But I thought Penn State looked good yesterday. Where's Julian Fleming? Milk carton alert for Julian Fleming. He's the transfer wide receiver from Ohio State. They got 19 NFL wide receivers over there. So Julian Fleming said, well, let me go play somewhere else so I can catch a couple of balls because I'm lost in a shuffle here. Not a single catch yesterday for Julian Fleming. Weird. Wallace went for over 100 yards, so maybe you found something there. But I was shocked. Shocked that Julian Fleming had 0 catches yesterday. We'll see what happens with him going forward there at Penn State, but that blew me away. I had to look twice when I said, wait a minute, what, did they leave this off? I had to go look at the box score at a different site to see if they just left it off the first one, but no. Turns out he didn't play. But West Virginia, your season is over, and this will be good. Texas A&M. Now, for Texas A&M, somebody needs to explain to me why anybody with a brain, number one, had Texas A&M ranked. I'm dead serious. That made no sense. Why was Texas A&M ranked? Why were they favored over Notre Dame? None of this makes any sense to me. Mike Elko's a good coach. He wasn't going to come in here and turn this thing around day one against the top 10 Notre Dame team. I don't understand any of that. I don't know why they were favored. I don't know why Texas A&M was ranked. The Connor Wegman story. Look, not every good story involves a great player. Poor Connor Wegman. He got hurt last year, and that's terrible. No one likes that. But now Mike Elko's there. A defensive guy. So all of a sudden now Connor Wegman looked like absolute shit. He looked like dried up shit that done turned white and stopped stinking. He was terrible. 12 of 30. 12 of 30. That's like 36% completion percentage. The fuck, man? 100 yards passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They ran the ball okay, decent, but my God, a field goal fest until halftime. Okay, we'll see what happens in the second half. Well, continue to be a field goal fest in the second half. Texas A&M scored 1 touchdown, Notre Dame scored, but it's not even so much Texas A&M's fault. I want to know from fans, from the AP poll that ranked them, from the fucking people in Vegas, what made anybody think Texas A&M was going to be any good? I said all offseason about this game that Notre Dame had the biggest, most important game of week 1 because if they lose, it's a loss to the 8th or 9th best SEC team. And that's what it would have been. They're about the 8th or 9th best SEC team. They're in that range, 8 to 12. There's 16 teams in the SEC. Texas A&M is in the 8 to 12 range. They're probably better than Florida. They're probably better than Vandy. They're probably better than South Carolina. They're probably better than Mississippi State and Arkansas, maybe. But then, that's it. They're Kentucky. They're Kentucky with an ROTC uniform on. That's what they are. You know what the difference is? Kentucky knows they're an 8-win fucking team. Every year, Texas A&M, y'all haven't won shit. Y'all haven't won a natty since 1939. You haven't won a conference in almost 50 fucking years. I don't know where this Texas A&M hype came from. I've got no clue. And people, you know what people have been telling me when I talk about the Notre Dame-Texas A&M game? Because I've picked Notre Dame to win and said everything I'm saying now. I don't understand this. Why is Notre Dame favored? Somebody's make it make sense. You know what people kept telling me? Not that I was right. Not that Texas A&M is terrible. They kept telling me, woo, you're too high on Notre Dame. Okay, let's pretend I am too high on Notre Dame. Now, what does that say now? I like Mike Elko. Okay, I'm repeating everything I said all offseason. I like Mike Elko. I think he will be better for Texas A&M than Jimbo Fisher was. All right? But they've been in the SEC for a dozen fucking years. They've never even made the SEC title game. They're called Texas 8-4 for a reason. Used to be because they won 8 games every year. Now it's because 8 wins is the fucking ceiling. It's the goal. I mean, their defense looked okay, but how much of that is Notre Dame's offense just not being worth the fuck again? Because Riley Leonard didn't look good either. The quarterback for Notre Dame. We'll talk about this. We're not shitting on the winners right now. Notre Dame's on the list of teams that won and looked bad and good somehow at the same time. Anyway, we'll talk more about that in a second. But man, Texas A&M, your season is over. You were never playing for anything this year other than next year's recruiting class. That's it. That's all you're playing for this year. Is next year's recruiting class, trying to show recruits that what Mike Elko is going to do there. That's it. You're not making the playoffs. You're not making the SEC title game. You're not beating any top 10 teams. You're not good enough. Connor Wegman is a complete disaster. Clemson? Oh, boy. Clemson. So, how many of y'all watch College Game Day? Oh, that's right. No, nobody. You're all pretending to boycott ESPN. I forgot. Well, on College Game Day, they interviewed Dabo Swinney as Dabo Swinney was on the field of Mercedes-Benz Stadium during warm-ups before the game. I played a little bit of the clip at the start of the show today, okay? And they're asking him a bunch of pointless, ridiculous questions, and he's doing the whole, aw shucks, gee, golly whiz, gee whiz deal. And but then he lets the truth slip. It's not about the scoreboard today, guys. It's not about this. Dabo knew what was coming. See, Dabo's stupid, but he's not dumb. And there's a difference. He's stupid, but he's not dumb, right? Of course he's stupid. He won't use the portal. He doesn't like NIL. He thinks Kay Klubnik is good. Like, more on that, too, in a minute from his post-game press conference. So he's stupid, but he's not dumb. Or he's dumb, but he's not stupid, whatever it is. He can't. So last week he cancels his call-in show, right? Hey, just want to let you know. I know we're getting ready to play Georgia. Yay, blah, blah, blah. Not taking any phone calls on the fan call-in show anymore. So I've been doing it for 100 years, but now we're not doing it. And I told you when he did it, it's because he knew what was coming. He knew he was going to get beat down by Georgia and that he was going to have to answer a bunch of questions from fans, and he thinks he's above that. So just ahead of time, he goes, just not going to do the phone calls. Same thing yesterday in the pregame interview with College Game Day. Dabo took one look at Georgia doing jumping jacks in pregame and said, well, this shit's over. And so when he had to go on with College Game Day, he went through his whole sermon routine and the whole deal like he normally does. He passed a collection plate around, and then he told you the truth. The scoreboard doesn't matter today. Dabo, every single Saturday that you put the helmets on and strap them up, the scoreboard matters. Is it the only thing that matters? Okay, maybe there's some room for debate there, but it matters more than anything else. But to say that it doesn't matter, well, you sir, are a literal can of fucking corn. You're a two-bit hick whose time has passed him by. The game of college football has passed you by while you've stood still with your thumb up your butt. Because you don't like the portal, and you don't like NIL, and you don't like players transferring around from school to school, and you only want players on your team who have been all in on Clemson since they were knee-high to a grasshopper. Great. Keep losing 4 or 5 games a year. I don't give a fuck. Hey, Bumpkin. Hey, Dabo, I'm talking to you. Fucking Andy Griffith-looking ass motherfucker. You goddamn hick-ass backwoods. If ask yourself this, if Dabo wasn't a college football coach, which trailer park would he live in? But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah, fuck I was going to say. Doesn't matter. Dabo. Here's the thing with Clemson. Much like Colorado, they're the same team they were last year for exact opposite reasons. Colorado fired its entire team, kicked them to the curb, and brought in 122 transfers or whatever it was because they weren't any good last year. Dabo looks at Clemson, who wasn't any good last year, and goes, we're good. Don't need nothing. Oh, boy. You need a quarterback, don't you? Cade Klubnik is not good. He's not good. Cade Klubnik's not good. Maffa's okay, but just like I told you, without a 1-2 punch, Maffa is not the Maffa of last year. He's just not. Go watch. Go watch him last year and watch him yesterday. He's a good running back. Every running back is better when they have a second good running back to pair him with. People with a brain told you that. You didn't listen. People with a brain told you your offensive line would let you down. Cade Klubnik was running for his life, especially in the second half. People told you a bunch of wide receivers that were good in 10th grade that have never caught a ball in college are not about to suddenly have a breakout day against Georgia in week 1. People told you that. People told you, hey, people smarter than you, by the way, told you, hey, your front 7 is legit, particularly your front 4, the down linemen, some of the best in football. But your secondary is a problem. Too much new back there. Well, what happened? Defensive line played pretty good, particularly between the tackles. Hard treading for Georgia between the tackles yesterday. What about that secondary, though? Yeah, 8 alive, buddy. Receivers weren't out there making circus catches. Remember, Georgia ain't got a bunch of 5-star freaks playing wide receiver. They don't have that. You know what they have? Undersized wide receiver 2s that know how to run routes. That's what they have. And they ran the route. And there wasn't a Clemson DB within 15 yards of them half the time. Because your DBs aren't very good. People told you all of these things. And then Georgia went out and beat the absolute soul and will to live out of you. And I enjoyed every second of it. I'm not going to lie. I absolutely enjoyed every second of it. First half of the game was a little shaky. I didn't like the fact that Georgia's drives kept bogging down in the red zone. And it wasn't that they... Here's what irritated me the most about the 2 field goals that Georgia kicked in the first half. It wasn't anything Clemson did to prevent those touchdowns. It was self-inflicted both times, penalties. Georgia got down to the red zone twice. Great drives. Get down to the red zone. Both times they started committing penalties, went backwards, and had to kick long field goals. So punishing themselves there. The last possession of the first half, same thing. They ended up getting no points. But they're driving down the field. They get to about the Clemson 40. They hit a big pass play all the way down to the 13 with about a minute to go. Penalty on the play, though. Backs them all the way up to their own 40. That's like a 55-yard penalty net yardage. And, of course, they end up coming away with no points in that last drive and a half. I made the halftime video. I said, got to cut the penalties out. I don't want to see Branson Robinson running the ball anymore. I want to see Nate Frazier. Michael Williams needs to start making some plays on the outside, and I don't want to see Chaz Chambliss anymore. Well, guess what? The second half came around, and it was all Nate Frazier, and he ate your fucking ass up. There wasn't shit you could do about it. Nothing. They could have told you, hey, we're fixing to run the ball right there, that away, and you wouldn't have been able to do a fucking thing about it. But cry. That's it. And pretend the score doesn't matter. That's it. Chaz Chambliss hardly played. Instead, they put Jalen Walker in, and he was a one-man wrecking ball. Only had 1 penalty in the second half, and it was on an extra point, which we made anyway. So they corrected all the problems at halftime. What's that called? There's a word or a phrase when you're doing certain things in the first half, and you have halftime, which is like 10 minutes, and the team and the coaches go into the locker room, and what is it they do? And then they come out in the second half, and it's better. What's it called? Oh, yeah, coaching adjustments. As a Clemson fan, you don't know anything about that. Tell me more about Garrett Riley, please, and how he's going to save the sinking ship that is the Clemson Tater. You want me to tell you something about Garrett Riley? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you something about Garrett Riley, if I can find it. Like I told you, I got 114 pages of copious notes here. How about this for a stat, Tater Man? UGA versus Garrett Riley. Georgia 99, Garrett Riley 10. This offensive genius here that you picked up from TCU's scrap pile. Garrett Riley's really good. Oh, yeah? Because he had an 8th-year quarterback and Max Duggan and a couple of NFL wide receivers and a good offensive line, a first-round NFL draft pick on the defensive line, and a pretty good defense. All of a sudden, Garrett Riley's the answer because he's Lincoln Riley's brother? Holy shit. Turns out TCU was just way better than you. That's it. Hey, Clemson man, listen to me. That team that Georgia beat 65-7 or whatever it was in the national title game, listen to me. That team was better than you. It wasn't just Garrett Riley working magic with Max Duggan. It was Max fucking Duggan, dude. You have Cade Klubnik. Come on, man. Come on, man. It's not always the X's and the O's. It's the Cades and the Joes. And Cade don't know what the fuck he's doing. And Garrett Riley is no magician. 2 games against Garrett Riley. UGA 99, Garrett Riley 10. Give him a raise. Fuck. This doesn't fit here, but I'm going to say it anyway. Who are the 2? Let me ask you this. Because I'm shitting on Clemson a lot today, and I shit on Florida State last week. And even though this is the point and laugh video, and it's kind of the whole point, it does get to a point sometimes where I'm piling on teams so much that I actually feel like sometimes you have to stop and like at least point out something positive. So let me know in the comments right now. And be truthful and try not to troll here. I'm looking for honest responses. Who are the best 2 programs in the ACC? Not right now, not like this minute, because you might be thinking Miami or something. What have been the best 2 programs in the ACC generally over the last 10 or so years? You know, Florida State won a natty in 2013. They played for one in 2014. They won the ACC last year. Clemson has 5 or 6 ACC titles in a row, 2 national titles, a bunch of trips to playoff. Who are the 2 best programs in the ACC? Who? Well, clearly it's Florida State and Clemson. I would agree. I would agree with you. Florida State and Clemson are the absolute best. The cream of the crop. The top rung on the ladder. The absolute best that the ACC has to offer. Florida State and Clemson. In Georgia's last 2 games, they played Clemson and they played Florida State. Final score of those 2 games, 97-6. Georgia is 90 points better than the top 2 teams in the ACC. And the reason that's so funny to me is because you listen to Clemson fans and Florida State fans talk after a loss. Clemson just lost. Florida State lost last week. Florida State lost to Georgia in their game. You know, Florida State's on a 2-game losing streak. Poverty. You listen to them talk, right? And they think they're so close. They think they're so close. You know, Florida State fans, they lose to Georgia Tech, and they're like, oh, guys, you know, it's DJ. It's DJ Ukulele, man. If we just had a good quarterback, you know, Clemson, oh, yeah, Cade Klubnik, he's not the answer, you know. We just had another quarterback, or if we just had a wide receiver, or, you know, whatever. You know, they think they're close. Florida State fans and Clemson fans, honest to God, think they're close. Y'all are closer to Vandy than you are Georgia, buddy. I don't know what to tell you, man. Yeah, boy, y'all are bad. Georgia dominated you. It was just ridiculous. Carson Beck went off, showed everybody why he's the best returning quarterback in college football. The guy who's throwing absolute darts and dimes all day long. Nate Frazier, a true freshman. You know, oh, Georgia ain't got no running backs or wide receivers. Woo, I keep telling me, it did like 9 different wide receivers had catches yesterday. Hey, guess what? Two 2 different players from the transfer portal scored touchdowns on you yesterday. That's right. Colby Young, a transfer Georgia picked up from the portal out of Miami, a wide receiver. Colby Young caught a touchdown pass. Guess who else caught a touchdown pass against you? My boy, London Humphreys. That's right. That's right. None other than London Humphreys. Can I get a hashtag Humphreys in the comment section? That's my man. See, y'all thought just because we lost Lad McHonky that we wasn't gonna have something to dig up for you. Did you really think we were gonna play Clemson? Look, listen to me. I told y'all the other day, Clemson is just a wider version of Iowa. That's all they are. Oh, shit. I forgot. Iowa went out and scored 40 points yesterday. So much for that. So Clemson, yeah, you are the widest school around. So did you really think Georgia was going to play you and not let a white boy score a touchdown on you, son? Come on now. Shout out Landon Humphreys. Yeah, turns out the transfer portal can improve even the best teams, like Georgia. But yeah, Clemson don't need it because y'all are close. Oh, y'all are so close. You're this close. Damn. Y'all are so far away, I can't see you. Huh? It's like trying to find Clemson's like the old John Cena deal. I'm a Georgia fan. I can't fucking see you. I can't see you. Get to the back of the line, nephew. Fuck wrong with you? Huh? Don't talk to me any kind of way. Come in, apologize for being wrong, sit the fuck down and listen to the rest of the show. Humpback tater looking motherfucker. Have y'all seen Lenore Sellers? Have y'all seen Lenore Sellers? This quarterback for South Carolina? That's all I'm not saying anything else about it. I'm just asking if you've seen him. That's it. Just asking if you've seen him. That's it. Dabo's post-game press conference. Oh, boy. Boy. I know you don't want to. Look, these coaching press conferences are boring, so I'm summarizing for you, but I'm not making this shit up. The Clemson fans, if there's any still watching, can tell you I'm telling you the truth because I'm sure they watched it too. According to Dabo, Clemson's offense played great. Cade Klubnik played great. He's really good. The wide receivers are good. Maffa is good. The offensive line is good. The play calling is good. The offensive scheme is good. Literally, the offense is fine, great, and everything's honky-dory in Clemson. Literally. Literally honky-dory. Y'all can tell when it's a joke that I've written down and planned, and when it's something that just pops into my head, can't you? That shit just popped in my fucking head, and I cracked myself up. Hey, Dabo, how are things at Clemson? Everything is just honky-dory. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem, buddy. But he did. He said the offense was great. Cade Klubnik was great. The wide receivers, offensive line, running backs, play calling, everything great. Defense, terrible, Dabo. Oh, terrible defense. Terrible. Can't tackle, out of position. Oh, my God, the defense is horrific. They've got about 9 NFL players on that defense and a grand total of 1 on that offense, and that's that tight end. I don't know what Dabo's doing. I don't know what he's seeing. Dabo appears to me to be a lost cause. I'm not going to lie. Y'all can type to you blue in the face. Oh, he's got 2 natties. Yeah, Mac Brown's got a natty. I mean, at some point, that has to stop mattering. Natties aren't a crutch. When it gets to the point where you're using natties as a crutch, you're in deep doo-doo. And that's where Clemson finds themselves right now. So Clemson season is over. That's all it is to it. They're terrible. I don't think they're winning the ACC. I'm not convinced they'll even make it to the ACC championship game. Their offense is just non-existent. But I mean, they lose 34-3. They had 140 pass yards. Cade Klubnik. Year 2, take a big step forward. 140 pass yards, 18 of 29 for 140 yards, no touchdowns and interception. And they only ran the ball for 47 fucking yards. 22 carries for 47 yards. It's not getting it done. They gave up 170 yards on the ground. So look, nobody's more complimentary of Clemson's defensive front than I am, and their front seven. No one's more complimentary than I am. You gave up 170 yards rushing to a third-string running back, Branson Robinson, and a true freshman, fourth, fifth-string guy, Nate Frazier. Georgia's top 2 running backs didn't play in this game, ETN and Roderick Robinson. Roderick Robinson out with a turf toe, ETN's 1-game suspension. And you gave up 170 yards rushing. You gave up 450 total yards. 450 total yards. I still think your defense is good, especially the front seven. Back end needs work. This just tells you how good Georgia's offense is. You got annihilated. All right, let's talk about some teams that won yesterday but look bad doing it. Basically, these are teams. You know how some people, when they do predictions, now I don't do this, but some people will say, well, the ceiling for this team is 11-1 and the floor is 8-4, right? These are teams that I think now are not hitting their ceiling. Whatever you thought their ceiling was, based on what I saw yesterday, they're not likely to hit it. Michigan, what in the world is going on with the quarterback situation there? Now, I agree, Orgy's no good. I thought Warren should have been the guy, and Warren was the guy. But he ain't the guy. He ain't no good. And if he's better than Orgy, y'all got big fucking problems. You did win 30-10 against Fresno State, but my God, with 10 minutes to go in the game, you were up 16-10 at home over Fresno State. Don't you have a home game this week? You better figure some shit out or you're going to get blown out. The Clemson style. Holy fuck. 4 of 11 on third downs against a group of 5 team. You only made it into the red zone twice. Where's Donovan Edwards? This guy had did he have 3 carries for 5 yards or something? I don't know what in the world was going on with Michigan yesterday. I figured they'd take a step back from last year, meaning they weren't going undefeated and winning the Natty. I didn't think their offense was going to be this fucking bad. Holy shit, looked like Iowa with a Michigan helmet. I mean, you better figure something out. Texas coming to town, bruh. NC State, hang it up. Your season's over. I'm tired of hearing this shit about NC State every offseason. You're not any good. You're never going to be any good. 38-21, you beat the fucking Asheville Community College of the Stoned, or whatever it's called, Western Carolina. You were up 21-17 into the third quarter. I mean, down 21-17. You were down 21-17 in the third quarter. You scored points late. Don't y'all play somebody next week too? Holy shit. Holy shit. You might give up 100 to Tennessee. Oregon, most disappointing team of the day. Not even close. Not even close. And it's hard to understand why. I want y'all to be honest. How many of y'all watched the game? Yeah, it was on Fox, but how many of y'all actually watched it? You were watching Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I was too. I had it on the one of the other TVs. I couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on with Oregon. I'll just be honest with you. Listen. Okay, pretend you don't know the score. The score was 24-14 against Idaho. A literal potato. Pretend you didn't know the score. Oregon had 500 yards of offense. Dylan Gabriel had 50 pass attempts. Why? What are you doing, Dan Lanning? 50 pass attempts. Dylan Gabriel, 380 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. You only rushed for 100 yards against Idaho. 37 carries for 100 yards. That's less than 3 yards a carry against Idaho. Defensively, you only gave up 200 yards total. 168 through the air, 49 on the ground. How do you have 500 yards of offense, 50 pass attempts, 380 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and score 24 goddamn points against Idaho? What in the world is going on? By far the most disappointing performance of the day was Oregon. By far. Notre Dame, good and bad. Hear me out, Notre Dame, man. First of all, don't get mad at me, Notre Dame. I had Notre Dame ranked 5th in my latest preseason ranking. I am obviously a buyer on Notre Dame for this year, okay? Or I was. Maybe I still am. Maybe I'm not. It doesn't matter right now. There was some good and some bad yesterday with Notre Dame. Let's start with Riley Leonard. This guy can't throw the ball. Why? I don't know, but he can't. He just can't throw the ball. Notre Dame's wide receivers, which is supposedly underwent a massive upgrade over the last 2 years under Marcus Freeman versus what Brian Kelly was able to get there. And I thought at times last year, some of these wide receivers appeared to be a massive upgrade over what Notre Dame had used to have. 18 of 30 for Riley Leonard. Receivers could not get open downfield. They were blanketed all day long. 158 yards passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He did run for 63 yards, so he did give you that part of his game, which is honestly the best part of his game, is his sort of grittiness, determination, ability to take off running on 3rd and 5 and get 6 yards, or 3rd and 8 and get 9 yards. He's sort of a playmaker that way, a gamer. And that part of his game was there, but he can't throw the ball to save his life. That's kind of the concerning part to me, okay? Now, the good part, the running game. Love, 14 carries, 91 yards and a touchdown. Price, 8 carries, 44 yards and a touchdown against a pretty good defensive front there at Texas A&M. Now, they lost a lot of talent off that front 7 through the portal. Walter Nolan probably would have been one of their best players this year. He's gone to the portal, but that's still a pretty good front, and you ran the ball on them extremely well. You also played great defense. Talked about your wide receivers not being able to get open. I don't know if people haven't been paying attention to what Notre Dame's secondary is top 5 in the country, easily. I knew about their safeties, particularly the one, Xavier, or I might be getting his name wrong. Anyway, everybody knows about the one. But they're corners, too. Lockdown all game long. Now, again, I told you before when we did the point and laugh at Texas A&M, Connor Wegman is a trash can with legs. This guy's no good. And maybe that had something to do with it. But nevertheless, Notre Dame's secondary, and it's a surprise to me. Again, and I'm somebody that studies these teams in the offseason. I'm somebody that bought into Notre Dame this year for a whole host of reasons, none of which involved their secondary. Notre Dame's secondary, to me, was the most impressive part of their team yesterday. Second was their ability to run the ball against Texas A&M. But you're going to have to develop some sort of a passing game, or else you're going to run into the same problems Brian Kelly did. When you play these elite teams with elite NFL playmakers on the outside, whether you're talking about corners or wide receivers, and you're trying to match up with them, you're going to lose by 30 again. You've got to come up with some sort of sophisticated, grown-up passing game. You just have to. And people told me, Lou, you're too high on Riley Leonard. He's not great. And I said, well, he's going to have way better wide receivers at Notre Dame than he had at Duke. I don't know if he does or not. I don't know. So that's up in the air still to me for Notre Dame. So that's why I say some good, some bad. Oklahoma State's defense, and bad again. You gave up 264 passing yards. You gave up 400 total yards. You did have an interception, but the thing with Oklahoma State is, they're going to have a pretty good offense, ball control, pound the rock, right, with Ollie Gordon type of deal, chew clock, that kind of thing. But their defense last year was so bad, it didn't matter. And you needed that defense to improve. You really needed that defense to improve to win the Big 12, which would punch a ticket to the playoffs. And I picked you to do that, by the way. I picked Oklahoma State to make the Big 12 title game and win the Big 12, okay? Offensively, I saw what I needed to see. Defensively, it was not good. Arizona's defense gave up 39 points to something called New Mexico. Arizona's got a great offense. Everybody knows about that quarterback, Fafita. But they had a wide receiver yesterday, had 300-something yards. So offensively, they're fun to watch. But how do you give up 39 points? I mean, this shit is head-scratching to me. I don't know. North Carolina quarterback goes down. They weren't going to be any good anyway. Now they're worse than not any good somehow. They still managed to beat Minnesota 19-17, but I wasn't impressed. Duke won 26-3 over Elon. Manny Diaz comes in as the coach there. But more importantly, they got, what's his name from Texas, Malik Murphy. And I was high on him. I thought he was good in the little bit of playing time he got when he was at Texas. And then when he entered the portal, there was some noise about maybe Georgia trying to get him. They unfortunately didn't, and he landed at Duke, and Georgia ends up with Jaden Rashada, but that's neither here nor there. I had high hopes for him, and he didn't look great. We'll see. It was his first start, but his first start at Duke, but he didn't look great. In Texas Tech, if I didn't love my helmet collection so much, I'd take this fucking Texas Tech helmet off the Power 4 square here and move it up here somewhere with the group. Y'all are a goddamn disaster. And I picked y'all last year to do something. I learned my lesson. Didn't pick you to do anything this year. Y'all were an embarrassment last year. And yesterday you beat something called Abilene Christian. You scored 52 points on Abilene Christian. That's amazing. You know how many you gave up? 51. Oh, how do you give up 51 points to a goddamn Sunday school? Somebody y'all shut that program down. Not good. Not good. So those are some teams that won and looked good. Oh, a few more. Sorry, a few more. South Carolina. Shout out to Carolina Jackpot. Boy, forget being on the ledge. This dude was halfway out the window. He was losing his mind. I thought he was going to do something bad. Hell, he called me last night at like 11:30. I thought something was really wrong. He's like, Lou, I need your help, man. I'm serious. I really need your help. I legitimately thought something was wrong. But he was just mad at South Carolina. He was like, tell me. He was like, man, why do I do this to myself? We're rooting for South Carolina. Well, boy, Jackpot was down bad. Shout out to Jackpot. That's my boy. I love Jackpot. Now, they did win 23-19, but it was not pretty. It was not pretty. And again, have you ever seen a picture of Lenore Sellers, their quarterback? Anyway, they escaped with a win, I guess. UCLA 16-13 over Hawaii. Man, the Big Ten is terrible. I'm just kidding. Big Ten's pretty good, but UCLA ain't. 16-13 over Hawaii. Wisconsin, 28-14 over Western Michigan. Struggled for the entire first half, most of the second half too. What's going on with Luke Fickell, man? I don't know. Michigan State 16-10 over FAU. Listen, you beat somebody 16-10 with a mascot called the Owls. It might be time to shut your program down. And of course, Colorado 31-26 over North Dakota State. Don't have to talk a lot about that now because we talked about it the other day, but they obviously didn't look good. Defense doesn't exist. What else? Let's see. Got to flip the page. I'm telling you, these copious notes. It's too much. It's too much. All right, here's some teams that won and look good. This is a way shorter list. Week 1 is weird, okay? Week one, you've got a handful of really big games, right? These sort of non-con kickoff games. And then you've got a whole shitload of absolute terrible games. I'm going to talk about that in a second, too. But these teams won and look good. Miami. Again, if you want to use the ceiling and floor analogy, whatever you thought Miami's ceiling was and whatever you thought their floor was, there's no way you can watch that game yesterday and come away thinking anything else than probably hitting the ceiling. Whatever you thought their ceiling was, winning the ACC, getting to the ACC. Nothing they did yesterday should have made you think they're any worse than you thought they were. They looked amazing. Cam Ward played probably the game of his life. 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And my favorite part, he shit-talked the Florida fans. In person, face-to-face, there on the field when he went up to the bleachers, and in the post-game press conference, he basically said, hey, dummies, talking to the fans. It doesn't do any good to boo, yell, and scream and clap after we get out of the huddle and we're already lined up. We've already called the play, dummy. If y'all are going to boo and try to be loud, you should do it while we're huddling. Then he really threw the Florida fan base and Ben Hill, Andy Griffith shithole stadium under the bus when he said, hey, I've played at Southern Cal when it wasn't even sold out. And it was louder than Florida's stadium. Damn. You ever seen an aerial shot of a Southern Cal home game? There's like 14 people there, man. Florida's down bad. You're getting shit talked by a Pac-12 quarterback now. Florida, y'all would pack it in. Jesus. Georgia obviously looked good. Went through this already. Beck, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 34-3 win. Slow first half, the 2 field goals, talked about that. The drives bogged down because of penalties, but cleaned that up in the second half and just ran Clemson out of the building. Clemson had 188 total yards and 3 points. Malachi Starks is the best safety in the country. Jalen Walker played out of his mind in the second half. Hopefully he gets more playing time. And Georgia's rotation of 4 or 5 linebackers they have is almost unfair. Smile Munden, Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen. I mean, just rotate these guys in and out. And every single one of them are NFL players. It's unreal. Nate Frazier, 7.5 yards per carry in his college debut. Again, that guy's a true freshman. And not only that, he didn't early enroll. So he didn't get there in January and go through spring drills and spring practice and spring game and all that. He basically showed up on campus 6 weeks ago, went out yesterday and had like 11 carries for 88 yards or something like that. He averaged about 7 yards a carry. Unbelievable day for Nate Frazier. But yeah, Georgia looked good. I thought Penn State looked good. 34-12 over West Virginia. Drew Aller, 11 of 17, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Singleton, one of the best running backs in the country, 114 yards and a touchdown. Aller also had 44 yards on the ground. They had 222 rush yards total, so just annihilated West Virginia on the ground. Julian Fleming, I mentioned this, no catches, no yards, no nothing. Where's he at? You literally brought him in to be what you were missing, and he had nothing yesterday. It was weird. Wallace had 117 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, but where was Julian Fleming? I don't know. What else looked good? The Oklahoma State offense. Defense was terrible. Offense, we got what we thought we would get, which is 100 yards from Ollie Gordon and a lot of points. Here's the thing. Ollie Gordon ran the ball 27 times yesterday against an FCS team. I don't know if Ollie Gordon... You should not be running the ball 27 times a game in college football anymore. Those days are over and long gone. Why do you think teams rotate running backs in and out? People don't do that anymore. You're wearing this guy out. Now, that's what's best for Oklahoma State, no question, is to hand the ball to Ollie Gordon 25 or 30 times a game because they don't have much outside of that. That's what's best for Oak State. But is that really what's best for Ollie Gordon's future in the NFL? No. Miami, you can't deny it. I know everybody that's not a Miami fan hates Miami. I get it, okay? And they underachieve every year. I get it. They've never won the ACC. I get it. And they may do that all again this year, too. They may shit the bed at some point this year, too. But right now, we're just talking about yesterday, and they were the second most impressive team in the country yesterday, right behind Georgia. Georgia played a better team than they did, obviously. Florida's an absolute trash can of a team. But take that out of it. Just did you watch the game? Miami is going to be a problem for anybody they play in the regular season. Now, we'll see about possible postseason matchups against legitimate contenders, but they're a problem for people in the ACC. That's the best I've seen Miami look in a while. I'll leave it at that. Can we give a shout out to Iowa? They scored 40 points yesterday. They played a nobody, but we're talking about Iowa here. 40-0, they won. And Vandy. Look, you cannot. We don't have very many opportunities to congratulate Vandy on a "Your season is over" video because usually we don't talk about it at all. But anytime Vandy gets a win, it's a good win. So Vandy got a good win yesterday over Virginia Tech. Shout out to them. Now, there's a whole bunch of teams I have not talked about yet, and I'm fixing to talk about them right now. I'm talking about teams like Bama, Kansas, Auburn, Tennessee, Illinois, Maryland, Texas, the Oklahoma, Missouri, yeah. Okay, listen. These week 1 games against middle school teams, I don't have a problem with them. Georgia does it sometimes. Now, I obviously prefer Georgia play somebody like they played yesterday. At a minimum, a Power 5 opponent, even if it's a bad one, as a fan, I would prefer that over any Group of 5 or FCS team. But it happens. It has to happen. For scheduling reasons, there's just... You run out of choices and you end up having to play these games. So I am not knocking the scheduling decision. I'm not picking on teams that scheduled these games. That's not what I'm doing because everybody does it at one point or another, including Georgia. Okay. But I am going to make a point about those types of games in general. And that is you can't draw anything from those games. Nothing. 0 positive. You can draw a negative. You go out and lose to fucking Idaho. I'm talking to you, Oregon. Then yeah, you got problems, right? But a lot of these scores are 50-0, 60-3, 75-2. It means literally nothing at all. All right. And I'm just going to give you one example. But I could literally give you hundreds if I wanted to take the time to sit down, look it up, and then write it down so I could tell it to you. I'm just going to give you one. All right. Oklahoma yesterday played Temple. Is that who it was? They won 51-3. 51-3. The offense looked amazing. The defense looked amazing. Jackson Arnold looked amazing. The wide receivers looked amazing. The run game looked amazing. The entire defense played good. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Zero. It couldn't mean any less. Why? Well, the Oklahoma fans will know this, but I'm going to tell everybody else. You know who Oklahoma played in week 1 last year? Arkansas State. One of the worst group of 5 teams on the planet. You know what the score of that game was? 70-0. 70-0. Ask yourself this. Did that mean anything? Answer? No. It didn't mean anything at all. Their defense was terrible last year. They shut out Arkansas State in week 1. Who cares? Gave up 3 points to Temple yesterday. Who cares? I'm not picking on Oklahoma. That's just an example I'm using. I could find an example for every team I'm about to name. Okay? Oklahoma went on to give up 24 or more points in half their games. Their defense was ranked in the bottom half of the country in almost every major statistical category. They lost to Kansas, for fuck's sake. I mean, it meant nothing. Missouri won 51-0. Whatever you thought about Missouri before yesterday, do you think any different now? No, nor should you. Utah won 49-0. Was it exciting to see Cam Rising play after missing all of last year? Yeah, I watched the first 2 drives so I could say, hey, there's Cam Rising. I missed you, buddy. They won 49-0 against a bag of wet clothes. It means nothing. Zero. Going forward for the season, nothing. Kansas won 48-3. What, you changed your mind on Kansas now? What, now they're going 100-0? Oklahoma 51-3. Ohio State 52-6. Now a lot of you watched that one because I heard from you. Oh, Ohio State sucks because they didn't score 1 million points in the first half. Look, Ohio State's going to beat the absolute fuck out of almost everybody they play this year. Period. What? They only scored 20 points in the first half or whatever it was. So now they're going 4-8. No, they're an elite team. They were an elite team before they took the field yesterday. They're an elite team after. Telling me they struggled in the first half, what? It means nothing. Now, Ohio State fans telling me, oh my God, we beat Akron 52-6. Jeremiah Smith's winning 9 Biletnikoff awards. No, he's not. Why? Because you beat Akron and he had 2 catches? It doesn't mean anything one way or the other. The idiot's telling me Ohio State is no good because they didn't score 1 million points in the first half against Akron are dumb. And the idiot Ohio State fans telling me they're going 100-0 because Jeremiah Smith had 2 catches. Y'all are equally dumb. These games don't matter. You can't draw those types of conclusions from these games. The list goes on. Texas won 52-0. So what? Did that change anybody's mind? No. Now, Michigan's looking like shit against Fresno State compared to what Texas did. Maybe that changes your mind on the Texas-Michigan game, but I already had Texas beating Michigan. And don't go anywhere because I'm just getting started on this list. All right, sorry for starting and stopping a couple of times there, but this thing's so damn long, my camera keeps running out of memory, and I have to load the videos onto the computer and then start again. So we left off with Texas. But look, the list is longer. Bama, 63-0. Okay, great. Jalen Mildew completed 6 passes in the first half. You ran it down somebody's throat. Okay. I'm not saying you're bad. That game doesn't change anybody's opinion about Alabama. It's Western fucking Kentucky. Ole Miss, 76-0. This is a prime example here of a team that's never won anything trying to get playoff votes in week 1. No one cares, Lane. 76-0. Good. Tennessee 69-3 against the Chattanooga Boy Scouts Alliance or whatever the fuck it was. That's amazing. Nico threw a bunch of touchdown passes to wide open wide receivers like practice. Okay. Good. Doesn't mean he's bad. I'm not saying he's bad. You could still go 100-0, Tennessee, man. I actually had a Tennessee fan in the comments. I made a halftime video last night about Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Okay? Tennessee game was already over. It was literally a halftime video, reaction to the first half, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I get a comment from a Tennessee fan. I noticed which team you didn't mention, Tennessee. Because you know you're scared. You saw what they did today, and now you're scared. What in the fuck is wrong with you? I'm dead serious. First of all, you know I'm a Georgia fan, don't you? That's number one. So when you say, you know, you're scared, I'm assuming you're talking about Georgia. You've beat Georgia once in the last, 15 years? What in the world would Georgia be scared of you for? Because of what? Because of Chattanooga? You need to get a hold of yourself, man. And if you're talking about me, damn, I'm not scared of you. Shit, come over here. I'll rearrange you. I'll rip your feet and arms off and replace and switch them. Dummy. You'll be walking on your hands for the rest of your fucking life. What's wrong with you? Show some respect. I'm not to be messed with. Kansas State won 41-6. Changes no one's opinion. Iowa, okay. Central Florida 157-3. What do you want? Another fake parade? Baylor 45-3. Arizona State 48-7. Rutgers 44-7. Illinois 45-0. Maryland 50-7. Purdue 49-0. Arkansas 70-0. Let me ask you something, Tennessee, man. You won 69-3. Arkansas won 70-0. Are you telling me that Arkansas is better than Tennessee? Because that's basically the argument you're making, is because Tennessee beat Chattanooga 69-3, everyone's now afraid of them. Are we afraid of Arkansas? These games don't mean anything. They don't change. It's not that they don't mean anything. They do. They count as a win and all that. They don't change people's mind about anything. Texas 52-0. Mississippi State 56-7. They're one of the worst teams in the SEC. They won 56-7. Notice who's bragging about I haven't seen Alabama. By the way, I haven't seen Alabama fans bragging about winning this game. They know. You know who brags about winning these games? It's the teams that can't win anything and haven't in the internet age. Tennessee, Ole Miss, those types of teams. Auburn people. On and on. Oh, here comes Hugh Freeze. It's Peyton Thorne. You want to talk about a ceiling? Peyton Thorne's been bumping his head against a ceiling since he was in 9th grade. He's never getting above it. Sorry. Reality here. Nice to meet you. So is it good those teams won and it wasn't close against bad teams? Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. So yeah, that's good. Does it mean anything? Does it mean you're winning the Natty? Are all 40 of these teams winning the Natty that won by 50 points this weekend against middle school teams? How are they all winning the Natty? Y'all need to stop. All right. We did the your season is over list. There it is. We did the one but looked bad. We did one but looked good. Here's the best teams I saw play yesterday. In no particular order. Georgia, Ohio State, Bama, Texas, Miami, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Penn State. Again, I was high on all of those teams last week. Some of these teams played legitimate competition. Georgia, Penn State, Miami to a way lesser degree. But at least those three teams played Power 5 opponents. Everyone else played a pickup elementary fucking kindergarten class, okay? But those are who I think are the best teams after what I've seen so far. The best wins yesterday. Now, this is different. The best wins. Vandy. Any win Vandy gets is good. Any win against a Power 5 team Vandy gets is great. So this was a good win for Vandy. Miami, great win. Notre Dame. Wasn't overly impressed with Notre Dame. And if anything, my opinion of Notre Dame is probably a little lower than it was before the game because I'm concerned about their ability to throw the ball. But it was a good win going on the road and beating Texas A&M. Georgia, obviously, good win. Penn State, good win. Those were all good wins yesterday. Heisman list. This is ridiculous. It's way too early to be doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. 4 names a week are going on my Heisman list. That's it. This is going to be hard to do in week like 4 or 5 because there's going to be probably 10 Heisman contenders, but I'm trying to narrow it down to 4 every week. Shedeur Sanders. Why? Because his coach's only goal is to pad his stats, get him drafted, and get him the Heisman. So that's why I have him on the list. Now, Eventually, he's going to come off the list because they're going to have too many losses, and nobody with more than 4 losses has won the Heisman, I don't think, in my lifetime. It's been a long time. But right now, he's on the list because he's going to put up video game numbers because that's his coach's only goal. I've got Travis Hunter on the list because I think he's the best player in college football, period, and whoever is second is a long way away. So he's on the list. Carson Beck. Carson Beck is the quarterback on one of, if not the best teams in the country. Last year, as a first-year starter, he threw for 4,100 yards, and he's going to surpass that this year. He's going to be sitting on 4,500 yards or whatever it is, and if Georgia's got 2 or less losses, he's going to be in the Heisman conversation at the end of the year. And Cam Ward. I thought Cam Ward had the best game yesterday of any quarterback playing legitimate competition. Notice I didn't say good. No, Florida's not good, okay? But Florida's better than Chattanooga. And Cam Ward had an unbelievable game, probably the best game of his career. So those are my 4 names on my Heisman list right now. Shedeur, Travis Hunter, Carson Beck, Cam Ward. The We're Back list. Here's your updated We're Back list. This goes in order. Number 1 is the team I think is closest to actually being back. Number 4 is the furthest away, okay? The qualifications for this list. You have to have not won anything for at least 10 years. No conference titles, no playoff games, no national titles, okay? And you have to have a large online fan presence because that's where the whole We're Back part of it comes from. So you got to be bad for a while, a lot of bad teams, but you have to have a huge online presence, fan base wise, that's always telling everybody that you're back. That's why Nebraska's never on this list for the people that keep asking. Yes, Nebraska's been bad for over 10 years. No, they don't have a bunch of fans on the internet telling me that they're back every fucking June. Okay. Number 1 on the We're Back list, closest to actually being back after week 1, Miami. Number 2, Notre Dame. Number 3, Tennessee. And bringing up the rear and likely to stay there for at least another decade, the Florida Gators. That's your We're Back list. Now, to finish things off, the Josh Pate special. I'm going to start adding this every week. I'm going to tell you what Josh Pate's going to tell you tonight, okay? Josh Pate, of course, well, let's not get into it. Here's the Josh Pate special for tonight. Clemson fans and Florida fans, tune in to Josh Pate tonight. He will make you feel better. Josh Pate is literally chicken soup for the college football soul. The more down bad you are, the more time Josh Pate will dedicate to making you feel better. He's going to come on tonight, and he's going to look the Clemson fan in the eye, and he's going to say, this is a non-con loss. It doesn't mean anything. All of Clemson's hopes, dreams, plans, goals, and everything are in front of them. They're not that far away. They held Georgia to 6 points in the first half. Cade only had 1 interception, and it was kind of a forgivable interception late in the game when he had to make something happen. Clemson didn't fumble the ball any. They lost to the best team on the planet. There's no shame in that. They kept it close for a while, and once it started to slip away, things just got away from them. But look at the remainder of their schedule. There's a lot of winnable games there. They could win this game. They could win that game. Clemson's a really talented team with a really good coaching staff. Dabo is a principled individual that knows what he's doing. He's got 2 national titles for a reason. You could still win the ACC. That will be the Josh Pate Clemson segment tonight. Florida fans, keep your heads up. I hate to hear about Graham Mertz, but DJ Lagway looked really good, and he is the future of your program. Florida has everything in place that they need to be a powerhouse college football program. Billy Napier is building the blocks there. He is slowly bringing in all the pieces. He's recruiting above an F level. He's got a decent player or 2 through the portal. You've got great facilities. You've got great tradition. You're Florida. You've got plenty of opportunities left on your schedule, Florida, to prove that this Miami game was just a fluke that got away from you. You've got a chance in a couple of weeks against another in-state school, Central Florida, where you can go out and prove all the naysayers wrong. Billy Napier has things headed in the right direction, which is how Josh Pate's been saying that for months now. He'll continue to say it tonight. But so those are the 2 most down bad fan bases right now, Clemson and Florida. And if Josh Pate is good for nothing else, he's for making the downtrodden feel better. So Florida man and Clemson man, make sure you tune in to Josh Pate tonight. Let him give you a digital hug and tell you that your team is going 99-1. Appreciate you watching. I'll be live tonight at 7:30 for Southern Cal versus LSU. But until then, have a good morning, dummies.